this. Great. So as I said, I'm Teresa Lafferty. I'm the president of the AAW, and welcome everybody to our what's called Sangha. Sangha is our community gathering, and this we do for our community of both practitioners and community of generally interested people in Ayurveda. And we are hoping that we're going to have our guest speaker just slide right in here. Hillary she is the former executive director of NAMA, and NAMA is the National Ayurvedic Medical Association, and we have really been looking forward to this. So hopefully we can work out our technical difficulty of being in touch with her and getting her sliding in to do our presentation tonight. But as I said, we are recording this, so if you we're going to put this up on our Facebook page as well as on our website. So if you don't want your picture on there in the recording, feel free to either put it back to your name or put your picture up or whatever, or leave it on your video. A-okay with me, whatever you'd like to do. So what we're going to do to just get started here is to talk a little bit about what the AAW is. And I am going to do a little screen share. So give me a moment to get that going. Give me just a second. And is it Mercury retrograde? Because we're having some computer things. I don't think it is. Okay. So what we're going to share here, this is just as I started to do just a moment ago, talking about, if you want, I will be watching the sound. I'll make sure everybody's on mute if we have any extra background noise. Feel free to type any questions into the chat or anything you want to make sure that we cover tonight. And then, like I said, I'll mute any lines that seem to be kind of noisy, and your camera is optional. So a little bit about us, just welcome to the Ayurveda Association of Wisconsin. Our mission is Ayurvedic education for all, to build and promote awareness, education, and recognition of Ayurveda, its principles, its benefits and practices as a system of healing that honors the connection of mind, body, spirit. We also are here to support the Ayurveda practitioners or Ayurveda professionals, to support the professional practice of Ayurveda through networking, collaboration, education, and professional affiliations. Our mission is our Ayurveda community for Wisconsin, to create that community virtually, in person, however we can get that done, to create this community here in Wisconsin. So our mission is to support a statewide community rooted in Ayurveda by providing education, connection, and resources. And we are committed to serving both the professionals of Ayurveda and those interested in using Ayurveda on their healing path. Don't forget that you can find on our website, and I listed the exact page down here at the bottom. It is ayurvedawisconsin.org/directory, and that gets you to a list of qualified practitioners that practice either here in Wisconsin or just outside of our state, or some way affiliated with our state here in Wisconsin. So that's a little bit about who we are, and there we go. That's a little bit about who we are and what we hope to bring into our community. And what we're going to do, looks like we're still having technical difficulty getting our speaker in, and I deeply apologize for that. It is the world that we live in. So what we're going to drop back and punt, and what I'm going to talk about is some of the things that we had on the schedule to talk to Hillary about. She and I have exchanged some ideas and chats back and forth about the future of Ayurveda, because that is the title of our event today, the future of Ayurveda. And I'm going to invite both Heather and Kathy I'll have a couple of questions for them as well, because I'm the president of the AAW. Heather is the vice president, and Kathy is one of our board of directors. She's a director on our board. So they are people that know our mission and know what we're trying to achieve. So I will direct a couple of questions to them as well. Just we're going to keep going. So in case we do slide in with Hillary, we're going to be absolutely ready for that. But we do have a lot to say about Ayurveda, even if that is technically troubled. One of the questions that Hillary and I were talking about was, do we see the interest in Ayurveda growing? And I'm going to answer that, and I'll ask both Kathy and Heather to give their input on that as well. And what I see is it's absolutely growing, because when I'm a CAP, a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, and when I see clients for consultations, I do everything at the moment. I'm doing everything online. And when I go through the multiple page questionnaire and I'm asking them about their past health conditions, I'm asking about their digestive problems, I'm asking about how their mind is functioning, how their emotions are working, and what is challenged with them emotionally. And I go through, in the Ayurvedic terms, I go through the systems of the body, or like we have different words for that, but we go through the systems of the body and we ask how certain things are functioning for them. When I get through that process, always my client tells me this is the first time in their life that they've had all of their things in one place. Meaning that this is the first time that they've been able to share with one person everything that's going on with them. I don't mean everything, right? I mean everything, but everything that at least it's on my form. And typically you would be going to a gastroenterologist. You might be going to a psychiatrist. You might be going to your OBGYN. You might be going to an internal medicine doctor. I'm not saying that we address those things from that perspective, but we are looking at some of those challenges that a person has within the confines of that practice. So when someone gets through with a consultation, and we've just gone through the questions, we haven't even gotten to the point where we're giving recommendations or talking about how Ayurveda sees those things happening in their body. Just what we call the intake is sometimes a life-changing experience. So that's one of the ways that I see Ayurveda growing, is we carve out an hour or 2 hours to listen to you, to listen to our client, to get a clear picture about what is going on. You're not going to find that other places. So that's one of the big ways that I see that the interest in Ayurveda is growing, is that we are a complete healthcare approach. So I would love to hear, I'm a little long-winded, that's just me. So not that I'm saying Heather and Kathy have to be that, but anything that Heather, you would like to add, and then we'll flip over to Kathy. Anything you'd like to add into the question of, do you think the interest in Ayurveda is growing? Or do you need me to go to Kathy first?
I can speak first.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree to say that, at least from not my standpoint as a practitioner, just there are more people. There are more people interested in Ayurveda now that are contacting me through Google searches. Just searching Google Ayurveda, and then Ayurveda practitioners near me, people finding my website and things like that. So finding me through social media, there's just more interest in general, I think. And I would link that to the growth of yoga. Being also a yoga teacher, there's Ayurveda is experiencing a renaissance in the yoga community as well. So as more yogis, yoginis are learning about the sister sciences, more more yoga people are reaching out, and that's the primary people that I tend to work with because I am a teacher. But just in general, I feel people are really interested, not just as a holistic health approach, but also as a lifestyle. Really interested in how yoga and Ayurveda go hand in hand. So I link it with the growth of yoga with Ayurveda, and I think it's long past due. So
Excellent.
that's been my experience, but definitely more interest. People want to know, they want to have more options. People are learning about chiropractic. They're learning about traditional Chinese medicine. Ayurveda is also known as traditional Indian medicine, right? And those two latter medical systems come from the same like source, right? Came from the same general area. So I think people are just more interested in general of having more options to taking care of their health and well-being. And Ayurveda is popping up now. Starting to take up more space in that arena. So it's really exciting. We've seen chiropractic and acupuncture and all these things kind of blossom over the years, and it seems like Ayurveda is queued up to do that next. That's what it feels like to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Kathy, would you like to add a few words of thing to something to that? And again, is interest in Ayurveda growing? You have to unmute if you.
I
Okay,
am
good. Perfect,
unmuting. Sorry,
perfect.
it just
No,
took
no, no,
my
no, no,
button a
perfect.
minute. But yes, I totally agree that the interest is growing. I also will go on with what Heather was saying about the sister science with yoga. And again, we're speaking here from Wisconsin. We're in the middle, and I believe that finally the coasts are starting to come into where stuff is in the Midwest. That I look at where yoga was at the beginning of the 2000s, and Ayurveda is now there, and it's a little bit 15 to 20 years later. When I had graduated from school about 10 years ago, I noticed too where everybody was on mainstream books and that information, and even where stuff is that's available online, and how that has grown throughout the last 10 years. But one of the things too that I look at with what Ayurveda offers, and what I believe people are looking for too, is empowerment, and to be able to understand yourself and to come into that holistic, meaning the whole part of yourself, to be able to do that. And to see the names of people that are joining today, it just, it makes my heart feel happy for the people that are involved with Ayurveda, whether it's through a profession, whether it's just the interest of studying it for so long. So it's great. And now to be able to come to this place with the Association in Wisconsin and what we've developed here. And I guess I'll shoot out Teresa. What is the session for NAMA? This is the 17th or 20th year that NAMA is doing their presentation that they'll be doing in Asheville. So I can't remember the numbers.
I don't remember the numbers either. No,
yeah, it's over 15 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's over 15, but to know that that's been in that groundswell of time, and now I believe that it's just it's becoming more mainstream. It's becoming more mainstream.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, and maybe either Kathy or Heather can actually type it out or even put the website in there. NAMA is the National Ayurvedic Medical Association. There are other national Ayurveda associations, but that is the one that has the most broad-reaching approach and is much more widely, easily found. They have this national conference thank you, Heather, that Kathy mentioned. And it's something that gives our profession, Ayurveda as a profession, a bit more stability to stand on. There are other associations out there as well. So for those of you who I just you joined in just a couple of minutes ago, we are experiencing a problem getting our guest speaker in, so we deeply apologize. But what we're going to do, and we're going to continue to do, is go through some of the things, the talking points that we had for Hillary that we have discussed. With myself, I'm Teresa Lafferty, the president of the Ayurveda Association of Wisconsin. We also have the vice president on here, which is Heather, and Kathy, who's one of our board of directors. We will be going through some of these questions from our perspective, knowing that everybody's here and you're interested in Ayurveda, and we want to honor your time that you've carved out to be here. And we will keep going through these in hopes that our technical problem might just miraculously go poof and Hillary shows up. Okay, so another topic that we have been discussing is what does Ayurveda offer holistic health seekers that other modalities do not? And we sort of hinted on that in our answer to the first question, which is interest in Ayurveda growing? But this is a bit more specific that says, what does Ayurveda offer holistic health seekers that other modalities don't? And I will go ahead and start that to say that we definitely have this holistic view of a person. And I think for my practice, one of the biggest things that I keep going over and over and over to my clients and to the students that I teach Ayurveda to is that Ayurveda is not a practice of just simply addressing symptoms. Like if you come in and say, I've got a headache, an Ayurveda person will almost always hands down go, where is it? What kind of things are happening? Where does it show up in your head? We're always trying to find more information to help us to determine, why do you have that symptom? So Ayurveda, what I see other holistic practitioners not being able to address the same way that Ayurveda does is we are deeply committed to finding the root cause of something. Like, why do you have stress in your life? It's not like, what does Ayurveda do about stress? We will always follow that up with, why are you stressed? Like, what's the problem here, right? And anything else will be the same. I have gas and bloating. Let's talk about why you think you have that. Now, Ayurveda has a very systematic approach to the symptoms that people present with. Ayurveda has been around for at least 5,000 years. And during that time, it went from just random pieces of information and it moved into, over the thousands of years, moved into categorizing and organizing the body responses to certain things. And then it went from random information to categorizing to more of a scientific approach, which says, if you're experiencing this, generally speaking, this, and this might be the reason why you're having that. And I'm sure that I'm speaking for both Kathy and Heather and other practitioners on the call. Sometimes when we come back to one of our clients and say, probably one of this symptom that you're experiencing, probably the main source of that is X. And they kind of look at you like, do you have some sort of crystal ball? Like, how do you know that? How do you know that that's why I have that? Thousands of years of information of Ayurveda, categorized and organized and proven to show kind of why we think the root cause of why someone might have a particular problem. So I think that's one of the biggest difference I see as far as with what other holistic, what other modalities don't spend a lot of time with. They definitely are focused on the symptomatic treatment, which, don't get me wrong, if I've got a problem physically in my body or somewhere, I would love to have some sort of relief kind of quickly. But I also would love to get to the root cause, like, why do I even have it in the first place? So I will turn it over to looks like Kathy looks like she might want to go. And anybody, while we're kind of chattering away here about this, if you have a specific question, put it in the chat so we can catch up with you. If you have a question about what we're talking about, or if you're not clear about what we're saying, please type stuff in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that and we'll get to it. So Kathy, how would you answer that?
Heather, I didn't mean to jump in front of you. I was afraid of my button, so I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not. But the thing I would add that is a little bit different is we're nature-based. We're going to be looking at things through the lens of what's going on with the seasons. And then realizing too that we have seasons of our lives. We have seasons that we're coming in seasonally with food, that it's not like, well, we've got a superfood and you need to be eating this all the time to get whatever results it is. We're starting to look at everything at a whole. So to be able to come from that place of nature and then to know how nature works, we can see how that mirrors in ourselves. So I think that's what is something that Ayurveda offers that many other modalities might not.
That's a great thing to bring up, Kathy. I know a lot of people when they come up with a problem that they're having, I'm like, well, what is the weather outside where you live? And they kind of look at me like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, that has everything to do with potentially what you're experiencing. What's the weather like? Yes. Thank you, Kathy. Heather, how would you add to that?
Those, you both covered some good points. I would echo your point, Teresa, about Ayurveda focusing holistically on a problem, and more so as a person as a whole, instead of zeroing in on the problem per se or the symptom. So I think in Ayurveda we take the term holistically really seriously, where we're going to be looking at everything, lifestyle, diet, habits, routines, everything, to understand the root cause. And I think what I would also add is, I had it there, now I'm losing it. Oh yes, just come back. The focus on the body's inherent ability to heal itself. Right? We're not coming in trying to affect transformation on anyone. We are empowering our clients to, to activate this natural healing ability that we all have. And so it's very much about educating clients and working with clients to help them understand the changes that they can make, the transformation they can experience, by doing, these little things on their own. So the difference is we're not doing Ayurveda to the clients. The clients are learning about how to leverage Ayurveda for their own use. And when you learn the basics of Ayurveda, that is something that you have for the rest of your life. Right. So this is a main difference for me too, is it's the whole thing of you can just give someone a fish, or you can teach them how to fish and they can eat for the rest of their lives. So it's very much an educational process. We're not just zoning in on the symptoms, writing a script or giving a pill or things like that, or a capsule or herb or supplement. It's very holistic, looking at everything, mind, body, heart, that has to do with that particular problem, and then teaching the client really how to be empowered to do, to use some of these age-old practices that are still very relevant today. So I think for me, that's what's so satisfying in this work is the revelation in the client that they have the power. They have the power to turn things around for themselves. We're simply in a place of teaching and sharing and connecting with this ancient wisdom.
Excellent. Yes. All of that and more, right? Another question that we want to address is, how do we see, and this gets a little tricky, Ayurveda is not at this current moment, at least in the state of Wisconsin, and I don't believe in any of our states, it is not a licensed practice. We are a certified practice. So we have a certification that allows us to practice Ayurveda, but we are not licensed to do that. So we are always referring things back and making sure that we have everything covered, that we are not in a place of stepping outside of what we are able to do as a practitioner of Ayurveda. But the question of how do we see Ayurveda showing up in the field of healthcare? So how do we see Ayurveda showing up in the field of healthcare? So I will give you my personal experience. I see when I go see my doctor, she is not an MD, she's a DO. And when I go to see her, in the very first meeting that I had with her, she said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner." And she goes, "What? Can I have your website?" Right. So she immediately knew about Ayurveda. She knew what it could do. And she has been referring some of her clients to me. And one of the things that she does, the types of people that she refers are people that are really struggling with being all over the place with their health. I've tried this and I've tried that, and I'm on this diet and I've tried this food and I'm on the latest fad diet thing, and they've tried all kinds of things. And that's for her. I've never asked her why, but for her, that's her trigger to say they need Ayurveda. And I believe what it is Ayurveda provides a structure. Like when we talk about anything, we have reasons why we give specific recommendations. We can even be so specific that we say, we actually want you to do that thing at this time of day, instead of like, oh, just do it whenever. We can be that specific. So we love structure. We love providing a structure to people to say, what time should they eat? What time should they get up in the morning? What time should they go to bed? Now, keep in mind, it's different for each person. I'm not saying wildly different, but it is different for each person how we answer that. So we're a very customized place, a customized practice. But when we look at what the healthcare practitioners can, or licensed medical professionals, what they can provide, they're pretty pigeonholed in what they can do. So when my doctor refers people to me, her patients to me, I believe what she's looking for is some sort of structure. But it's amazing what can happen when you open up and as a practitioner tell licensed professionals what you do. They're like, oh, let me refer people to you because I know what Ayurveda is. The same thing goes when I used to work at a spa, and there was an acupuncturist there and massage therapist there. They would refer people to me. Now they are licensed acupuncturist and licensed massage therapist. They knew what they were able to do, but they were referring people to me as Ayurveda. That's like, you person need more structure. You need more of a look at your life that gives you a bit of understanding of the whole picture. That's my experience. So I'm going to pass it to maybe Kathy or Heather, whichever one wants to go. What does Ayurveda offer? I'm sorry. How do we see Ayurveda showing up in a field of healthcare? Right. I'm sorry. Let me answer the thing that's in the chat. That is right. Some of the schools, I know the there's two schools here in Ayurveda that do offer a license, but I believe it is a license to be an esthetician. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, Edie. But here in Wisconsin, you can be a licensed esthetician and also have Ayurveda training. If you, there may be some other states. What other states offer Ayurveda as a licensed practice? I'm not aware of any state that offers just Ayurveda as a licensed practice. There might be Ayurveda packaged with something else that is licensed. Just the school. I see. I got it. Just the schools. Absolutely. The school is licensed for sure. Yes. Thank you, Edie. So Heather or Kathy, how would you answer how we see Ayurveda showing up in the field of healthcare?
I think this is a great question because as Ayurveda is growing in popularity and is gradually becoming more mainstream, although we're seeing that more on the coasts. Midwest is we're a little slower here. But the word and the interest is definitely spreading. And as that happens, I think there will be more demand. I think there is growing demand with health consumers. And just as acupuncturists and chiropractors and such practitioners are growing in popularity and, becoming part of people's healthcare teams, I believe Ayurvedic professionals may follow the same path where we become a team member of someone's healthcare team, working along with other modalities, including conventional allopathic medicine. So I see more of a working hand in hand. And this is something that I do in my own practice. I encourage transparency um, with my clients, with all the practitioners that we're working with, so that we can all support them. So I think, again, it goes back to options. People want more options, and they want to be able to see a chiropractor. They want to be able to take Chinese herbs. They want to be able to see an Ayurvedic practitioner for, lifestyle practices, or, a personal yoga practice or things like that. So that's what I hope anyways. My hope is that, we're going to be joining others in this healthcare scenario to work as a team with others. And I think that's really important, especially if Ayurvedic professionals want to be accepted by other practitioners, is to work hand in hand with them. Not that we're trying to replace them, that we are seen really as a complementary to other modalities and not an alternative, because complementary is it's more collaborative. And I think that's where we can get the most, be in like a powerful partnership with the people that we help, but with also with other practitioners as well. And I think that will help with the credibility of Ayurveda and Ayurvedic practitioners and health counselors.
Great. That's perfect. Kathy, how would you add to that?
I'll just add in just a brief way that, again, I agree with what's been said by both of you and Heather, with it being complementary. And knowing that we're coming from a basis of where our food is our medicine. So now in that place where people are becoming more empowered on their own, as well as understanding, I'm, have different gluten situations, I've got bowel issues, and understanding that what they're putting into their body is affecting them. I think, again, this is where we're going to be able to hold that space to talk a little bit more in depth, a little bit like you were saying, Teresa, with getting more structure that starts to come in, but then also bringing in that intuitiveness and that knowledge from Ayurveda that comes in, that starts to show us where we're working individually with people and saying that this is going to be good for your constitution and for you. And again, I'm going to bring back nature again. So that's all going to come into play, all together. But I do believe we will be able to get another, or get our own seat at the table. It'll be coming in those modalities.
Great. Thank you, Kathy and Heather. So and keep anything coming in the chat if you would like to ask a question, or if you're unclear, or if you want us to talk about a particular topic. One of the things that is for us here in Wisconsin that is a particular challenge kind of in the Midwest is we've talked about actually really positive experiences of people being aware of Ayurveda and people even referring to and talking about this in the bigger picture. But one of the challenges that we do have here in the Midwest is describing to people what is Ayurveda, right? And putting it out there as just in a very, because we've got a mixed group of people on our call. So I'm going to ask both Heather and Kathy So be thinking, because everybody that's on the call, they don't know what I'm going to ask them. So they're just winging it. And so kudos to them for doing a great job. Wondering, we've got a mixed group of people that are on the call. Some people that have a level of understanding from a practitioner, some people that are brand new to understanding about Ayurveda. But I think it would be interesting for each of us to give a little bit of a talk, just sentence or two, about how would we describe Ayurveda to someone who doesn't know what the word is, who doesn't know how would it even interest them? You know, like if they were having some sort of health issue, how would Ayurveda even play a part in that? So how would you describe Ayurveda to someone that really doesn't know what it is? So I will start with that, putting myself on the hot seat because I'm coming up with these. Some of these are questions that we had for Hillary and that we've talked about, but some of these are things that are just coming out of the discussion and knowing who we have on the call. One of the things that I do really help people understand about Ayurveda is, yes, it is a holistic healing modality that comes from ancient India. But it is also based on you learning who you are, learning why do you do some of the things that you do, and why do certain things cause you problems and not another person. Each of us are individuals, and each of our ways that we move through the world are highly individual to us. And it's really in our world of stepping away from modern medicine, so many people are more apt to follow the recommendation that they find on YouTube or on Google or from their neighbor or from a friend or from another family member. They're more apt to follow that advice than they are sometimes as following their doctor's advice. And what Ayurveda does is it comes in and it says, just because X worked for your neighbor, friend, sister, brother, mother, just because it worked for them, it may not be the right solution for you. And let me help you see why. Let me help you learn about yourself and learn about why that solution is not the best one for you. And as Kathy said earlier, it's a way of empowering people to make a good decision for themselves, to look at something and go, is that the right thing for me to do for the imbalance that I personally have? So when I talk to my clients and students, I say, when I boil this massive amount of knowledge of books and volumes and study and thousands of years of knowledge, when I boil it down into its finest little tiny little drop, that drop is knowing yourself better. Knowing who you are and being able to make a decision for yourself based on knowledge versus meh. So that's kind of how I say it. We also work on your diet, your lifestyle, your stress management. All of those things are a key part of Ayurveda. But I'm going to, there's, as all of us can that are practitioners, we can talk for a long time about this, but we're trying to boil it down to something kind of smaller little bite. So either Kathy or Heather, whichever one of you want to answer that question. Looks like she's
Okay,
going
mine's
over to
working.
Kathy.
It's working here.
All right.
I'm always thinking, because of Ayurveda being the sister science of yoga, that yoga is coming in through the practices of quieting the mind, and Ayurveda coming in through the practices for everything else. So to be able to work into where we are with sleep, where we are with what we're doing with our body, how we're eating. And then the beauty of Ayurveda is that there are so many tools that we can use. And there's a way that we can then, as Teresa says, learn who we are through Ayurveda, and be able to, again, just get to that place of where our core is, and then find a way that has a structure to it also. So it's not my best elevator speech, but knowing where yoga is coming from, and then the counterpart with our Ayurveda, those two, the yin and the yang.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathy. Over to Heather.
Yeah, that's great. I like to approach it from the yoga side of things as well, being a teacher, yoga teacher. Depending on who I'm talking to, I might introduce Ayurveda as yoga's sister science, to simply stress that they do go hand in hand. But if I were to crystallize it, I would say that Ayurveda is learning how to honor your true nature. And if you are uncomfortable in any way, whatever your discomforts are, learning then how to return to that true nature. So the discomfort being there really as a guide to help one, lead you back to your true nature. So I like to talk about that as well. Those are probably my two strongest points. Is, just, I would agree with you, Teresa, learning about yourself. Know thyself is one that I use a lot, and to also always pay respect to its origins, to the people of India, for their sacrifice, for preserving this wisdom for us to benefit from.
Perfect.
Thank
Perfect. Okay, we're going to do two, excuse me, two more questions, and then we'll kind of go into a bit of a closing piece, and we have a slight option for our guest speaker as we close. So two more questions, unless there's more when we open it up. So in all of our experiences, the three that are speaking, myself, Heather, and Kathy, we've been into Ayurveda for quite some time. Not as long as our guest speaker had been is into it, but we have been in Ayurveda for a long time. And my question is, in each of our, and we have very different practices. So in our practices, what are we seeing as trends that are emerging in the Ayurvedic field today? So that's my question that I'm putting to both Heather and Kathy. In our experience, being in Ayurveda for quite some time, what are the trends that we are seeing emerging in our field today? And I will start that, like I said, putting myself on the go button. The trend that I am seeing that's happening is that people are really there. It's maybe going two ways at the moment. That there are people that are at a very high level. We're of Ayurvedic training. We do have what we loosely call a doctor level training. When I say loosely call, they are not a medical doctor unless they also have that degree, but they have a degree and as an Ayurvedic doctor. They have a very deep clinical understanding of Ayurveda. So I see that as an emerging field that's coming out. And when I first started in Ayurveda, it's like, does anybody know an Ayurvedic doctor? Like it would like Dr. Ladd, and there was just a very thin slice of people that we knew of that had that level of training. But that is an emerging field. People coming out with that high level of training that's available to our public, either for us as practitioners to take part in or as our clients. I see that, and then the other part that I see is that practitioners are trying to make this so available to everybody, trying to find ways that people can either have a free class on digestion or a free class on something else, and trying really hard to, as Heather said, honor its origins. And if you understand the origins of Ayurveda, this is the medicine of the people for the people. Ayurveda is for everybody. It's not for this elite group of people. So we at least all of our trainings, because I'm more familiar with the three people that are speaking, we've been taught that we have to have a certain amount or percentage of our practice that is either low dollar or free or something, some way that we're giving back to our community. So people of all walks can have availability to Ayurveda. So those are the two things. And like I said, it's kind of like two opposite ends of the thing. But I see those as trends coming out for the practice of Ayurveda. Heather or Kathy? Heather, you ready for that question?
Sure. Yeah, there's so many places where there's so many different
Mhm.
trends. It's I really just kind of have to choose one. Um, one trend that I do think is a little troubling that we've touched on is the appropriation that we see happening with yoga, and that now we are also seeing with Ayurveda. So it's a double-edged sword. Gaining popularity, being more in the mainstream, but then that also exposes us more to the Ayurvedic wisdom being appropriated, and that means being used in a way that is not honoring its origins. So you can see this in yoga clothing. You can see how some celebrities are you know right influencers taking things to another level without paying due respect. So that for me is a troubling trend, but I think for the rest of us, we can do our part to make sure that we are still paying homage to, the people, the culture of India that have incubated this wisdom over thousands of years and sacrificed so much in order for us to have access to it. So I think because of that, many of us are called to, make that wrong a right, so that people understand the place and the people where this comes from, and we're not taking things out of context for pure profit or for spiritual bling, the mala beads and the Om t-shirts and all this stuff. So I just want people to be aware that that is appropriation, especially if it's not done respectfully. So, and there's some great information out there for people who are interested in looking into more ways that we can honor the roots of Ayurveda and yoga.
Great. Thank you, Heather. Perfect. Over to Kathy.
I'm hoping, just parlaying on a little with Heather said, as far as trend, I think too, with people wanting to gain more knowledge and know more things, it's also one of those of who you are getting this knowledge from. If in fact, looking at where we are now in this creation of holding a space for the AAW and for Wisconsin, as well as what's being held on a national level, that's showing that lineage of people who are putting themselves into wanting to train and understand this and hold this dear versus something that might come at a weekend session or a seminar that somebody would get some type of certificate for. The interesting thing with Ayurveda is what we're working with. They are simple things that can be done individually with people, but they're hard to do. And it's one of those things that I believe too, with what Heather's saying, with appropriation, sometimes it can feel like it can be glossed over of who the speak is, of where this is coming from. If it's coming from, just a class that you're taking and it's been interjected into your class, wondering, where this is. So when I start to see trend, I'm hoping that the trend is that the consumer is becoming a little bit more aware of what's out there and hopefully a little bit more discerning in understanding where credentials fall and who they're listening to or who they're working with.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move into the last question, if you will. And before we get into that question, what we really want everyone to understand out of this, number one, more about Ayurveda, but what we've just kind of glossed over a little bit is the qualifications of people that are out there practicing Ayurveda. So each one of us, the three that are your main speakers tonight, each one of us have gone through the Ayurvedic practitioner level training and at least 2 years of academics with at least 1 year of internship. My program that I'm later in the timing than the other two, and my program required a level of first year academic, the second year was internship, kind of a third year was academic, and then another year of internship. So we're not talking like our practice and our training for the three of us land somewhere in at least a 2-year academic program with a level of internship or supervised seeing clients. So we are not talking about a weekend class, and we're not talking about just taking us just as a casual thing. This is our profession. Both myself, Heather, or the three of us at least, Heather, Kathy, and myself. This is our profession. This is not like a hobby. This is what we do for livelihood. So we take it very seriously. And I put in the chat the Ayurveda Association of Wisconsin. We do have a directory page on our website. And these are people that have at least gone through one level of verification of qualification. So if you are looking for someone to work with, and say you're here in Wisconsin or in a surrounding state, these are people that I've listed in the link there. If you're on the live call, you get the link in the chat. These are people that do have qualifications that we have verified. So know that these are trusted people. And I would say if you are at all interested in using Ayurveda for yourself or for a family member, please either reach out to one of us or someone that's on that list and get an understanding of what qualifications you need to be looking for to make sure that someone is qualified to help you with your health challenge or your family member's health challenge. So our last question before we go into a few closing comments is, I'm going to, again, kind of putting my people on the spot, one tip or one of your favorite things that you talk about that in general, and you'll know what I'm kind of getting at when I answer the question, something that you love giving to people to do. And it can be something that's, as we say on the back end, tridoshic, something that has its roots in Ayurveda that we can give out to even just family and friends as something that you might find helpful in starting to either address or balance some of your health challenges. And one of my favorite things to tell people is we are, as Kathy has said and Heather has said in her way, we are beings of nature. Like we are, when we feel out of touch, when we feel like we don't know what our purpose is and we don't know what we should be doing, and I'm not sure if I'm in the right job, I'm not sure if I'm in the right relationship, and you hear people say these words over and over and over again, like I don't know, I feel lost, I feel disconnected. We are beings of nature, and one of the most beautiful ways to get back in sync and back in touch with the natural world around us is to consume herbal tea. Herbs grown in our earth have all the elements that are the basis of life. They even have like those little cosmic drops in them because they are in the sunlight, they are in the moonlight, they have all the weather put on them. They are our magical little beings, our plant friends. So consuming organic, please, herbal teas are one of the most simple and beautiful ways to get back in touch with your nature and nature itself, and get all of your cells going in the right direction. So that's one that I love telling people, and I go to dinner parties or gatherings, and I always have a box of herbal tea that I'm just passing out. So that's my simple little tip. So I will, and Heather and Kathy, you can go in any direction you want to go in. So what is something that you love giving to people as a way to just, that has its roots in Ayurveda, that has a way of getting them easily eased onto the right path? Neither of them are wanting to answer this. Come on, gals, you've got it. What is one of the things you talk about all the time?
Okay, this is a good one. Yeah, there is some there. I think my favorite is helping people to refer to themselves um, as a source of wisdom, as opposed to looking outside of us for answers. You know, this diet, this supplement, this expert, right, is going to fix me. So this is more on the philosophical side, but Ayurveda teaches us that we have the secret, um, we have the knowledge about ourselves locked within us. So sometimes we just need to trust our own intuition about something as opposed to trying every single trend and fad out there. What is it like to listen to yourself? What do you hear coming from your own heart? Not so much the ego mind, but the heart, the body, in terms of what is right for me. I think we've lost a lot of trust in our intuitive voice, and Ayurveda guides us back to that voice to find to unlock those answers that are within us.
Great. Perfect. Kathy, how would you?
Well, I think you both took both of mine, but that's okay because I'm all about herbal waters. I think herbal waters, and you were talking about herbal tea, and when I stopped to think of, I mean, CCF is the golden retriever of that, that it's, when you can do the coriander, cumin, and fennel tea. I think that's wonderful. And the other thing to parlay a little bit of what Heather was saying is I loved the quote, whoever said it, not sure where it came from. You don't need to understand Ayurveda, you just need to experience it. And it's just try something different, and have maybe a knowledge behind what you're trying, why you're trying CCFT, why you're eating turmeric, what you're experimenting with foods, why you're going to bed at a different time. Just try it, just experience it. And I think that's where those powers start to be. And that's what I love about it.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. So I appreciate everybody sticking with us for the hour. And we deeply apologize that we had such a technical problem in having Hillary with us. I think what we're going to offer, we'll check with Hillary and see if either we can try a different time. The other thing that we may do is have this conversation with Hillary and record it. And then send that recording out to everyone. We'll see which way lands best. And if you have a preference, everybody's got my email, because my email is the one that sent the reminder of the Zoom. So you're more than welcome to send something to me and go, I would rather it be this or this thing. So please let us know, because we are here for you. So we apologize that somehow the universe did not align for Hillary to be with us this evening. But we will follow up with that and get that worked out in a different way. But we do really appreciate everybody being here and being in support of Ayurveda in Wisconsin, or at least surrounding. I think almost everybody that came in are here in the state. And we have a lot of things planned for our community, for our Ayurvedic community here in Wisconsin and in the Midwest. We are partnering with some other groups that are kind of branching out Ayurveda into the Midwest, so a bit farther than Wisconsin. But we deeply appreciate you being here. Please visit our website. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Kathy, for making the comments there. Please do keep in touch with us on our website. Do look at us, find us on Facebook, and we have a private Facebook group, but you can find us, join that. We have some things that are happening in there. And please, if you are looking for an Ayurvedic practitioner and you want to make sure it's someone that has qualifications, use our directory page. which is growing every day. So we keep that that going. So you're welcome, Edie. Thank you for coming. So if anybody has any question, we are happy to answer that, but we are complete for the evening, and we'll be back in touch when we know how we're going to work out having Hillary with us. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here and sticking with us and moving through. So good night for those who are leaving, and I'll stay on for a few minutes if anybody has any question. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.